How's it going, everyone? This is Wimbo. Today we are going to finish our case study for this headphone. Woohoo! So we are going to finish the texturing process and the lighting and also styling. Eventually we're gonna have a good render out of it. So without further ado, let's get started. As you can see here, this is the model that you guys are already built, but this is the one I'm actually originally built. So with a little bit more details and stuff that you already know how to do that, cutting the holes on a curvature surface. But all these are just need more time to craft your models, or you can even do some creative design and just accordingly based on the skill set. So now we're going to focus on the texturing today. But before we get into that, we know we are going to kind of rotate this object and to doing some certain pose when we're doing the styling stage. What we can do now here, we can actually prepare for that stage. So if you select anything here, if I hit G to grab it, it's actually going to really only moving part of it. So the next thing we were going to do is we're going to hit Shift A to select to add a empty and the plane axis right here, so we can actually scale it down here and grab it, and Z come in here, so we can just put it in roughly in the center of this geometry. And the next thing is we're going to hit A to select everything, and the lucky thing is that the empty is still in the bright yellow, so which means this is the active element. So what we can do next, we just hit Control P to actually to do the parenting, we can parent to the object. Well, once we hit that, so we can just select the empty, so we can grab it, the entire thing can go with it. If I hit double R, and we can actually rotate it, and you can do pretty cool levitation rendering and the certain angles that you see very often on the advertising images and anything. Okay, cool. So we have get this part done. And some of you probably, when you actually doing parenting, the certain part of the mesh is can actually kind of reset to the original position, or maybe like this, because we're built like that. All you need to do, you're just gonna select this and hit Control A to apply scale and the rotation. Then you will solve this problem when you parenting this empty object. Anyway, so we have got that done. So next thing we wanted to do here is we're gonna do texturing. One of the biggest things that I really wanted people to understand, that you will not really, there's no perfect or correct texture for your product unless you already have designated a texture already. Maybe someone asks you to do that, or some model like providing you have specific modeling. But a lot of time from the photographer perspective, images renders coming out, it all depends on a lot of things. It depends on the lighting and what kind of light you have. So without really building the scene and set up the light, your final renders is still going to be a little bit different compared to what you built for when you actually doing the texturing. So what I mean is that if I'm just basically, as you can see here, I already have a world HDRI applied, but a lot of times, so this is the bathroom one, so a lot of times if I just turn this thing on, as you can see here, everything looks okay, but are you guys able to notice this is kind of have a yellow tone with it when you see this object? If I'm just quickly change the this HDRI to any other HDRI in my library, so I can go here HDRI, so I can just go with a 1. And in the fish hole, as you can see quickly, it have strong color cast. And a lot of you who are in the beginner of the CG, and you don't really notice this this significant switch for the color and also the light qualities. And again, for HDRI, for me, as a photographer, it's never going to be the main light or key light to control the entire scene, and it's just kind of like a good starting point. So usually what I do, I can just pick and choose to have a general HDRI image or anything, like even this is pure white or anything. Or I can just kind of start with at some point to having HDRI image apply. This is close to the natural, but it's still a little bit warm tone, but it's okay. So when you actually doing the texture, so just making sure you just need to understand that this is not going to be the final color or the correct color if you really wanted to render some product image for the accurate color for the product. So let's get started from each part. So already, as you can see, I already finished texturing it. I just gonna quickly run down in order to save some time for you and also to be more effective to understand how the things build. So let's get started for the yellow, the gold part. So I have clicked that. As you can see, the button is already using the same materials. I call the gold metal. It's very easy to actually create. So I was only using a principal BSDF, and it's basically the default one. What I have done, I just dragged this specular to point A. It was default, I believe, was what the 0.5 or anything, and the roughness, I put some little bit roughness. You can see here is not that pure roughness, like super smooth. I don't think that's really realistic, and I actually have some little bit of roughness on this metal, and for the headphones, it actually looks pretty nice. It's a kind of a matte metal, but the metallic, this slider is either 0 or is to 1. So that's just either you're a metal or you're not a metal material. So for the color base, this is something that I wanted you guys to remember. So for the gold color, and that's just going to be this code, the FFES 9D. So you can just kind of add that, save that as a default color when you working with the gold metal, and making sure you have dragged this slider all the way to 1 in order to have a gold metal quality. And next thing we are going to have is this one. This is another metal. This is connecting part. It's kind of like, I would say silver, but it's just a general default color that I use to actually do that. So it's still a principal PSDF, and this is the default specular, the roughness 0.1, and there's nothing special about it. So I just put this as a default. And moving up, this is, I call it rubber, or probably is a rubber or something, but this is kind of like the main structure of this body. And also, again, it's pretty simple. You can just choose a color, pick a color that you want, and these are just basically the default numbers. I just drag the roughness down to the 0.4, and it's pretty straightforward. And the tricky part is gonna come up here is the headphone or the foam, would you call it? As you can see here, it's supposed to have some kind of like a texture going on here. And it's kind of like a waffle, whatever, like square type of thing. And what I have done here is this. It seems like a complicated shader if you're brand new to the Blender, so I just wanted to kind of explain that what's going on here. And by the way, this texture is actually the one for the previous, now the last pencil case studies. I'm using the exactly same display map. You can see that the name didn't get a change either, so it's a pencil display map. So basically, this is just one single map and textures that I use to build. Basically, what it is, and because I came from a photography background, and I'm seeing this mixed shader is more like a layer mask, as you can see. And the good thing is about this is we can plug in 2 different materials to each shader, and this factor basically is working as a layer mask. So as you can see, if you have some experience working with Photoshop, and you know the layer mask, the white means review, black means not review, so it's being covered. So this is how this factor means. So basically, I built this is trying to help myself to understand the process. So these two are pretty much identical, except the base color. This one is a little bit dark, as you can see here. This is a number right here, and this is different. So just a little bit minor. So whatever this mask, as you can see here, this and on white is gonna actually, I believe, is gonna show off the top shader, and whichever part is black is gonna show the bottom part of shader. If I'm wrong, please correct me. And then these, I'm just add a bump map to plug in each of these, because they're pretty much identical besides the color differences. And I still using the same one as the display map over here, and just hook into a bump node, and so kind of adjusting the distance and strength to make it look nice. And as you can see here, there's one thing I want you guys to notice. This is the scale size. So I actually scale size of 3. So what I did, I just select hit and click and drag the entire thing. So now I can do 1 or 3. So going back to here, if I'm going to do 1, as you can see here, it's pretty big, right? The pattern is pretty big when you're doing the texturing. So I'm actually just kind of wanted to have a little bit fine detail. So I just hit that and click that and drag and hit 3 to really kind of, you can see here is fine detail. Another thing I want to point it out is because this is more like a little bit fabric type of look, the sheen, sheen tint, I'm actually dragging all the way to 1 to have a little bit kind of like a shiny effect, sheen effect. That's usually when you're dealing with a fabric type of look. So same thing going up here for the bridge one. As you can see here, this has some patterns going on here. So I'm going to click this, and you can see here has pretty much the same the same materials I built, and using the same method to have 2 different separate color. And this time these 2 colors looks a little bit quite different. This is much brighter, lighter than that one. And also another difference is, you can see here is the pattern, right? The pattern actually in the focusing on the way that I actually checked it invert. As you can see here, I'm zooming in, you can change the bump node to bump in and bump out. So you can just see there's tiny differences over here. And also another thing for this particular one, here's a rotation on the final mapping. So if this is right now is 0.25, negative 0.25, I hit the 0. So this is kind of like what's going on here. So if I'm dragging here, you can actually change the patterns, the flows over that. So you can definitely play with it, and you can choose the one that you really want to have. So I'm just gonna go set it back to where it was, and the Control Z, yeah. Until 2.5. So I wanted actually kind of the flows going back to there properly. And sometimes you guys might have issues with the UV editings, because sometimes the objects need to have properly unwrapped. So I'm go to the solid mode and select this part and hit the backslash key in the number pad key, and then if I'm typing in, you can see here this one I just hit the select the entire thing, hit the U to hit unwrap, or even you can just do the smart UV project. So there's a lot of time that actually can unwrap pretty well, and this is the case that are working very well, and I didn't adding any seams and seam lines. And for this part, and I actually done to actually have a seam line in the back over here. So as you can see here, this is the line. So you can just select this edge, and actually after you select this edge, let me show you quickly. After you select this edge and go to the edge, select the mode, and then right click, and you can just do the mark seam. And then you can have this red highlight seam going on here. And then when you do unwrap, select everything, it's gonna wrap in this way. And this is actually what the texture looks like for the pencil display map. So you can download that from the pencil case study, and you can find it in my YouTube playlist. Okay, so let's go back to where we were at and go to the render view. So I think pretty much I have covered all these materials and how to do them and in the blenders. So next thing we are going to do, we are going to start styling them and to really make this product looks cool. And here's a file that I already made, and this is actually the final render that you guys already seen in on my Instagram account. So basically I just want to kind of zoom out a little bit here. As you can see here, it looks like this is only one surface and one back lighting and one camera, and then scan it out. Actually is not. If I go to the solid mode and also hit the Z to exit out the X-ray rate. The reason you see this is the big view box right here is just because if I'm go to the viewport, I'm only selecting the certain part of to view. So that's how I did it, is Control B to do that, to select certain part in order to view that. If I hit Control B to select the entire views, I can do that. And if you want to exit it out, I believe hit Alt B, and you can, I think you can, I think it was Alt B or Control Alt B. Yes, Control Alt B, so you can exit out that mode. So basically you can see this is what it looks like. The reason, if I'm opening up the light, actually we have 3 lights, not 2. But the reason you don't see the other 2 is because if I'm select the left fill, as you can see here is a box or a plane that select, but it is not showing in the render view. So that was because if I'm go to the, what is this called, object property, I can see here, I'm gonna go to the ray visibility, I just uncheck the camera, and yeah, if I'm uncheck that, so you won't see that through the viewport if I hit 0. If I'm check it on, so you will see, oh, this actually blocked away, blocks certain part of the view. And the same thing for the right fill, turn it on, although this one's not inside of the camera view, so I just turn it off actually. So that's all good. So now you understand how this light works, and let me show you the tiny differences these light makes. Because the lightings all came from the back side, you're supposed to have pretty dark the front edge, because the reason I selected the back lighting, I really like to have some kind of texture or outline to show off this figure or the structure and details of this headphone, and having another fill light in the front, it looks actually very nice to fill in some details and to show you what it looks like. And you can see here we have a really good resolution of display map and a good amount of details for the design. And this part is still considered kind of dark to me, and it just doesn't have a whole lot of detail. So that's why adding another right fill to just put some hint of light can pop here to actually have more dimensions going on here. So definitely you can see here, you can be very creative in the 3D world. You can just do the propping, do whatever you want. I'm actually having it's kind of like impossible surface, kind of getting like running down diagonally. It's really getting introduce some dynamic into the scene to try to make this image looks cool and different and unique. And also because we don't have limitation for the gravity anymore, so we can just kind of grab this whole thing, just do whatever we want, to rotate it to propping the way that you want. So that can really open up a lot of creativities options. And sometimes you can just try to do some new things. And I from previous or some of my projects that I've done in the past, I just built some like music stuff that I can just kind of float it in. I didn't hit this into post this in the Instagram as a final render. Probably I just feels a little bit cliche, or it's just kind of like something that I just want to try. And you can do a lot of amazing stuff in the Blender, but yeah, that's all yours. So the tools that you needed to have, and the rest of these is just your creativities or your visions, that what you trying or what you wanted to create. And I think that's pretty much it. And I think thank you for your watching. And if you have any questions, and please leave a comments. And of course, if you enjoyed this case studies, please hit likes and shares, and to pass to more people who want to get into 3D and learn Blender, to really try to can bring your creativity vision into life in the 3D. And thank you again. I will see you in the next video. Bye.